Hello, friends. Welcome to the Truth to You Daily Podcast with Brother Scott. We are thrilled that you have taken time out of your day to explore with us God's timeless truth. Regardless of who we are, we all need the light of God's Word to illuminate our path for this day. And now, here is our youth pastor, Brother Scott.
Hello and welcome back to the Truth to You podcast. It is Monday, October the 3rd, and it's a special day because we have Miss Christina, my wife, back with us here today. And I'm going to ask her to go ahead and give us our opening verse from Proverbs 19 and verse 1. Go ahead and read that for us.
All right, so that says, "Better is the poor that walketh in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool." Proverbs 19:1.
Yeah, so we've got a great verse here, and we're going to break it down together. And you notice, just like you read, is that we have a comparative or contrasting word here. The very first word is better. And, you know, what my mind went to as soon as I read this verse was the old game, Would You Rather? And,
Nice.
Would You Rather, it's a comparative game, right? But it's usually used in connection to two things that are negative. It just so happens I have a couple of Would You Rathers just for you.
Oh,
So I'm
all right.
gonna ask you these questions. So
Okay.
the first one here, you just give me your reaction. But would you rather have to sneeze but not be able to, or have something stuck in your eye for an entire year?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Okay, so you feel the sneeze coming on, but you're not
You
able
can't
to.
sneeze.
You
Is this
know,
like a whole year of not
yeah,
being able
I
to
think that's
sneeze?
how I would read that. That's how I would read that. So
Okay.
that's that feeling of having to sneeze but not being able to, or having just something in your eye but you just cannot seem to get it out. Which
Wow.
one of those would you rather?
I guess I would probably have to go with a sneeze. They're both pretty bad, but I mean, something in your eye, that's like pain, aggravation. The
Yeah,
sneeze, I feel like I could just deal with it better, I guess.
yeah.
I'm a little
It probably
sneezy
would
person
for
anyway.
me. Yeah, for me it would depend on the severity, right? I mean, I've had some
Yeah,
sneezes where you're like on the brink and your
for a
face
long
has
time.
even started to like react to that and
Your
squinch
eyes
up.
water.
And yeah, I mean, it would be hard to carry on conversations if you're doing that the whole time.
Hmm.
Whereas the eye, if it's just a little, I guess I could walk around with my eye closed. I don't know. The
So,
sneezing thing would be more bothersome.
so you're saying you would choose the eye?
Yeah, I think so.
All
Not
right.
that I want something in my eye, but again, that's why these things are
Yep.
they're
I'll
two
take the
bad things.
sneeze. You take the eye. Okay.
Right. Okay, so here's the second one. Would you rather live one life that lasts 1,000 years,
Oh
or
wow.
live 10 lives that last 100 years?
I would have to go with the 10 lives, the last 100 years, because I feel like you could do something different with each life.
Okay.
That's my mindset. Technically, maybe if you lived 1,000 years, you could every 100 years do something else. I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
I feel like the 10 different lives would give you variety.
Yeah.
And
I
maybe
and
you
the,
could even be different time periods, which would be really cool.
yeah. I don't know. I'd sort of wonder, like, would you know you're living your ninth or 10th life? I don't know. And would by the eighth, ninth time, that you're born, you're like, oh, this again, man, I got to wait 10 years. Yeah, I got to wait 20 years before I can, do,
Yeah, but you
adult things.
get to experience like childhood again and like the
Oh,
freedom of no
sounds terrible. Okay.
responsibility and the
All right.
fun.
Okay. All right. Well,
Ah,
it just shows that,
we're
we
pretty
may
different.
we may be different in that way. That's okay. That's not a bad thing. But again,
Nope.
these are two things that are, you know, could be construed as negative things, but that's not what's
Just
happening here.
extremes.
That's not happening in this passage. It's something that is good, and it's something that you ought to be doing and something that you shouldn't be doing. So the choice is much easier than these for sure. So it's the comparison really between a poor man that has integrity and someone who is perverse or crooked in his way. And so, break down some of these words for us and get us going in the right direction here.
All right. So better is the poor that walketh in his integrity. And I think we all know what it means to be poor. Although, I mean, poor, nobody wants to be poor. It's not a fun thing. But it could be more than just material things. It could be poor in academics or some type of talent. Maybe we don't think we have a lot of something.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it's better to be that and have integrity, which integrity is the quality of being honest, having strong moral principles, moral uprightness, or just the idea of straightness, something that is straight,
Yeah.
which is something we all need to be striving for, is integrity. Always doing the right thing, choosing right no matter what the circumstances are.
Okay.
And it's better to be that, having the straightness in our life, than a perverse lips.
Okay. All right. So it's better to walk the straight path than the crooked path, and that plays out in a lot of different ways. So let's get to some examples then. What would be an example? And this is talking specifically. It says perverse in his lips, right? So crooked in his
Right.
speech,
Yeah.
and it calls that person a fool. But give me an example of someone who is crooked in his speech.
So that could be innuendos, which unfortunately is really popular today.
Mm-hmm.
It could be
Right.
among anything. I
Yep.
think a lot of it we get so much from movies is that they're innuendos and it's made out to be funny,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
inappropriate.
Right.
You're going down the wrong path. And sometimes we wire our brains to be trained to think that way,
Mm-hmm.
which is perverse. It's crooked.
Yeah.
It's unrighteous.
So in other words, the speaking is not at face value. There's a double meaning, or there's
Right.
something that's almost deceptive about that communication that's taking place. I think
Right.
something else that could also be an example is people who use derivatives. A
Right.
derivative is almost a synonym for another word. And
Right.
unfortunately, there are a lot of derivatives of curse words. And
Yeah.
this is something that I often hear, with teenagers. They'll change uh, one
Letter.
letter in the word, and all of a sudden now it's righteous, and I can use it
Yeah.
in every way, shape, and form. But I
Right.
mean, everybody knows what you're trying to say.
Right.
And even if you think that you've somehow whitewashed it, you're still trying to communicate the same level of frustration or
Yeah. Exclamation.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so, yeah, I would say that's not something at face value, right? You're alluding to, you're insinuating something, and you're not speaking in a straight fashion. Give me something else.
Another one could be sarcasm.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
which we can use that in so many different ways. We can be sarcastic how we respond to our parents,
Yeah.
to our siblings, acting like we're this nice person, but what we say is like, no, you're showing the frustration or the anger that you actually have. And
Yeah.
um, that's crooked speech.
Right. And sometimes people use I think that you can probably use some sarcasm, in a way that is humorous, that anyone, but I
Right.
think that a lot of times it's used in an unhealthy way.
Right.
Um,
We take it too far.
right. Yeah. And then I mean, we could just keep talking, but it's really amazing how many crooked paths we can walk when we talk about the way we use words. But one thing we haven't talked about is tone, right?
Mm,
And the way that we say things, and we could
right.
say something that is 100 true, but the tone in which we say it can be all wrong.
Right. And
Yeah.
it makes it not honest. It makes it crooked then when the tone, you can totally change the meaning of something by your tone
Yeah.
and what you're saying.
Right. And you know what? That's not just young people, but that's adults,
No,
that's parents, that's
it's
aunts,
everybody.
uncles, grandparents. Yeah, anybody can. So,
Hmm.
regardless of who we are, this verse is pretty straightforward and reminds us that we ought to be concerned with our integrity and not be one who is, trying to um, be deceptive with the way we're communicating with others that leads us to a perverse path. So,
Yeah,
um,
which is everybody. I mean,
mhm,
nobody has spoken truth their whole lives or been free from perverse lips.
yeah,
We all can struggle in different areas, but realizing doing that makes us a fool
right, yep,
and
hmm,
we don't have integrity, and it's actually better to be poor than maybe have some things in life, but act like a fool in our speech.
right. And it's not that we have a choice between you're either going to be poor with integrity or you're going to be
Right.
rich and foolish. That's not the choice.
Right.
The
Right.
choice is a straight path versus a crooked path. And
Exactly.
it just so happens that even if you were poor and lacked resources, what's more valuable to the Lord
Yeah.
is your integrity.
Yep.
That's something money cannot buy, and
Hmm.
that actually goes with a devotional that's coming up next week. Our time is gone,
All
and
right.
forgive us, listeners. We've gone 12 minutes, and that's because we're not
We had
together
to play a game
in
too.
the same room and we played the game and all those things.
It
It's
was fun.
maybe an episode you have to listen on 1.25 or
So
1.5
talk fast.
speed to try to do it. So all right, before we go, I want to mention our teenager of the day. It is Isaac, and let's take some time to pray for Isaac. Thanks for joining us, and thank you,
Yes.
dear, for being a part of the podcast today.
I'm glad I could still do it.
All right, everybody, take care
All right.
and have a good rest of your day.
Bye.